Sure. I wanted to ask you something that I'd asked you November 25th and again earlier this week in connection, or in an email about also the Mali picture, has to do with the reported killing of an IDP civilian in Bambari and CAR by a peacekeeper from Mauritania. There are also some other, like 5 questions that were asked on the 25th, none of which have been answered. But on this, so I want to ask, on I was told that there was some investigation. I'm just wondering, how long does it take to determine whether the peacekeeper fired the bullet and whether it was responsible and what was done on? And 2, on the other questions, is there some, when are those questions going to be answered? Some of them are just very simple questions about use of UN money. Is there some problem with answering them?
Regarding that, some emailed questions sometimes take their own pace. Some of them I know. One of them was, I believe, an attack on one of your reporter colleagues. I don't believe that is going to be answered. We don't try to honor when one reporter
the question
tries to
was,
attack another
what is the
reporter.
waiting list for office space, and what was the list at the time that Christina Gayach decided to evict inner city press and put in a person who doesn't come? So you can call it an attack, but you should have a rule.
The reporter you're talking about does in fact come. I'm sure your reporters, your fellow reporters in this room appreciate
so what
the
about
fact.
the use of UN funds to travel? I mean, if you wanted, that's fine. If you like, you could have just answered the question in writing, and then it wouldn't be discussed here.
Stephane, please stop talking over me. Has answered the question about the travel.
He said everything was inappropriate. So I said,
Yes.
let's give a list of the trips in the last year. It's very simple. Like,
No,
it's not your money. It's public money.
No, Matthew. Stephane has answered that question. That trip has been dealt with and has been handled in the appropriate manner. Regarding reporters, you are not the hall monitor of reporters, and you don't get to judge.
Does DPI have a list?
You don't get to judge.
Right.
You do not get to judge whether your colleagues attend these briefings enough or not.
Does DPI have a list of people waiting so that it's not given out to reward those who ask no questions?
If you have any issues about accreditation, take this up with my colleagues in media accreditation.
What about OPM?
Have a good afternoon.
What about the contracting in Burundi? Like, you don't answer the questions, and then you come and misuse your podium. No, you don't. Question for Ms. Gayach, if you can give some update on, I see it as a New York issue, this Englap Singh bribery case that's pending in the Southern District of New York, here in New York. It's another aspect of contracting at the UN, but it hasn't been resolved. It's going to trial in January. A superseding indictment was filed that says that the South-South News entity was a bribery conduit. This is a word used by Preet Bharara. So I'm wondering, Ms. Gayach, since I've asked you about this previously, and your response was to evict the press that asked and to leave South-South News in the House, now that the superseding indictment has been filed, what do you think? Has your thinking changed? Thank you.
And on the latest case that you mentioned, I don't have any update, but I'm ready to learn with my colleagues from OLA and others. If there is anything, I'll be absolutely ready to share it with you. Thank you. Other questions?